Welcome to the Peace and Chaos program. Get ready for your hosts, DJ Aceman and Big Don. How's it going, everyone? Welcome to the Peace and Chaos program. I'm DJ Aceman alongside the legendary Life of Big Don here today for another big Peace and Chaos live. Big Don, what's going on?
Hey, we got through the full intro.
Yes.
Okay,
big one today.
We got some big stuff planned for tonight. We'll be talking about, that's the title and the thumbnail suggests here. We'll be talking about the Olympics and whether or not the Delta variant will be affected in any sort of way.
Yes, we're also going to be talking about what's going on in Japan with the COVID variant, such as the Delta and many others that are in Japan right now, and how that could affect the pandemic and the trajectory of COVID in other countries that have it under control. We're also going to be discussing a little bit about the science behind the coronavirus vaccine and how some people, or what they now call breakthrough cases of people who are fully vaccinated. We're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about going back to the Olympics. We're going to talk about what the public opinion suggests about the Olympics and how a lot of Japanese people are still unhappy with hosting the Olympics. Then we're going to switch it over to the United States. We're going to talk about what's going on with the January 6th commission, specifically the politics with what's going on with Nancy Pelosi, and also with House Minority Leader. And we're also going to be talking about what's going on in Texas with the Texas Senate passing a very eyebrow-raising act, which we're going to get into. And we're also going to talk a little bit about Jeff Bezos. But before we begin, always go follow us on Twitter and Instagram. We have the Twitter right here. The IG is on our YouTube homepage. You can go click on that and follow us. We have a lot of great content that is exclusive to both of these respective social media accounts. So go, please follow us on there and never miss a beat. Yes.
We got something in the plans for you that we're going to announce after the stream here.
Yeah, we have some things in the works that you'll get more information as it goes along. But
so you all better stay tuned.
Yes. And we'll just say next week, just to let you all know, next week we will not have a live stream. We are going to be we're going to be busy next week, so we're not going to be able to have a live stream. However, there is going to be a GeoGuessr landmark edition that is going to be coming out at that 8 p.m. hour. So for all those who might be tuning in and listening to us at 8 p.m., you can tune in next week. It's just going to be a GeoGuessr special for our GeoGuessr community. Anyways, let's get right into what's going on in Japan. So yesterday they had the big kickoff of the Olympics. It started last night in Japan. And today, as of right now, apparently there are now 17 new Olympic-related COVID-19 cases and a total of 127. This is of this morning, so there could be more. We have not gotten those tallies out. A lot of skepticism of the Olympics have been going on. People in Japan and also around the international community have been claiming that the Olympics should be postponed or should not happen at all. Some athletes have also tested positive for coronavirus. One is Coco Gauff, who's a tennis player from the United States. She has gotten COVID, and some others as well. I believe a Dutch rower got COVID today, and some others who are not going to be able to compete for gold also tested positive. So this just brings me to the first question, Big Don. Do you think that it was right to even have the Olympics?
Okay, that's a tough question because I think the amount of, in a perfect world, I would say no. It was not a good idea. It's not a good idea to have an Olympic event in a country that's experiencing a vast amount of COVID in the form of the Delta variant, and even though the athletes, the Olympians, have been vaccinated, a lot of them have been vaccinated. Do they require vaccines? I don't know.
I don't think so. I think some people have not gotten it yet.
But obviously, you're seeing a lot of stuff coming out how the Delta variant is affecting people with vaccines. People are not getting hospitalized. Most people are going to be asymptomatic to it.
Mhm.
Chances of you getting hospitalized from the Delta variant if you're vaccinated is extremely low. But this still raises the question of okay, we don't want to spread this this type of disease to the people who could potentially be unvaccinated, and this is why they kind of kept people out from attending the games. But still,
Mhm.
it's a big safety concern, and it can present a lot of liability. The problem is is that and this applies to countries in general that host Olympic Games, is that they invest a lot of money into infrastructure, making sure everything is safe and secure,
Mhm.
everything being the highest quality possible for the athletes. And this has been going on since way last year.
Yeah, this has been. And you
So
know that. Oh yeah, go ahead.
so it becomes like a huge liability for a city like Tokyo here, for example, to hold that much equipment on sort of their populace's books, if you want to use some accounting terms there.
Mhm. Yeah. And also too, here in the US and in other countries, the media, they get big money from advertisers, for even buying out the Olympics. Like this year, NBC, I believe, has the Olympics till next year, and then they have to bid for it again. But NBC has been doing numbers. You see with Rio, and you also saw with Pyeongchang in 2018. So also with all these advertisers, like Toyota in Japan and other companies and other Japanese companies, who I believe Toyota funded one of the stadiums, if I'm not mistaken, and then there's some others as well. But um, there's a lot of business that goes on too. And if we were in a perfect world, and the coronavirus was under control, but we can't change that. But if it was, there would be tourism in Japan right now. Businesses would be doing a lot better. If there wasn't any lockdowns or any sort of that going on in Japan right now, you'd have businesses booming. You'd have people actually filling up the stadiums. They'd be getting a lot more revenue from tourists being there. But since there are no tourists, since the public can't even go, they're really cutting it. This is a very risky scenario, and I think that's why a lot of people in Japan have been a little taken back by this.
Yeah, they have, and there's obviously mass protests that have been going on because not only does it become like a question of like allocating resources, but well, in terms of allocating resources, there are people. Japan has a pretty poor vaccination rate amongst its
Mhm.
population.
We can actually put it up right here. Here's the Japanese vaccination rate. So it was horrible when I say in April and May, when we were closing in on over 1 million vaccinated.
Yep.
They were doing terribly. They had 3.3% of the population who was vaccinated at the start of May. Us, if you compare it to us, I think it was a lot, ours was a lot higher. But as it has gone on, they have had a little bit of a spike with vaccination. 35% of the population has received their first dose,
Yes, and that's
as of
not
July 20th.
terrible.
That's not as bad. If you look here, there's actually a map right here. You can see with the US. US as of right now, um, fully vaccinated 49.5%. Here in Japan, it is only, hold on, sorry. It is only 23%. So, and the US is a lot more people. Um, so that is bad, and it is poor that the vaccine infrastructure and the logistics of that has been so poor. But again, I think that it also shows you how ineffective the government was with distributing the vaccine. I mean, here in the US, we had Moderna, Pfizer, and Johnson and Johnson. I mean, those were emergency approved late last year and early this year. But I think with Japan, they were kind of waiting on vaccine supplies to come in. So I think therefore they did have a lot of ineffective ways of getting the vaccine out. And you could see it here in May. They were doing terribly. Since then, it has picked up a bit, but they do have a lot of catching up to do compared to countries like the US, Canada, Germany, and in Europe as well.
Yeah, and you can see this across many countries around the world right now in terms of allocating funds to get vaccinations. I mean, and now it becomes like a question of whether or not the United States should help in that aid. But that's besides the point here. Obviously, there's in terms of Japan, there's a lot of protests going on in terms of okay, well, this is not the Japanese people's number one priority right here because they're not really getting any revenue from this because no one can attend the games.
Mhm. Yes, you bring up a good point. And Voice of America actually did some polls, or they found some polls, and it is pretty significant. Right here it says um, support for holding the virus postponed games rose to 34%, according to the poll by the Asahi Shimbun newspaper published on Monday. So this was back in June. This is the most relevant poll that they have from a month ago. And they go on to say, however, 32% still want the games to be canceled altogether, and 30% want the games to be delayed, down from 43% and 40% in last month's survey. So even though there has been still some support of hosting the games, a majority of the people do not want them. And it's probably because they can't enjoy them. And they're also scared that it's just going to make the pandemic worse, not just for them at home, but also for around the world. And they know it too. People are not vaccinated. Athletes from countries where the vaccination rates are low probably are not going to be coming vaccinated. You have, I think, most of the Olympians for the United States and other countries have been vaccinated, but other countries around the world and Olympians who are representing other countries who have low vaccination rates are really taking a chance. And I think the public sees that and sees how it really isn't going to benefit them in any ways. It's really just benefiting all the big businessmen and women who kind of funded this and also all the business interests that are involved. But it's not going to help the mom and pop shops in Tokyo or because no one can go.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, it's interesting to see how this will play out in terms of the cases that go up, or
Mm-hmm.
we don't know what's going to happen here in terms of what the amount of athletes that get sick. Obviously, there's a significant amount. I mean, 127
Yep.
athletes is not something to scoff at.
Yep. It really is. It's and we're only on like technically the second day now, or
Yep.
they're starting the second day. They have had some preliminary like games and other tournaments that have started on Wednesday, but for the most part, most of the um activities have started um yesterday on Friday. And although they have a lot of mask mandates, and you see with the indoor arenas, such as with ping pong or with water polo, how the refs and everyone else who's working in media has to have a mask on. The players and the athletes are not wearing masks for the most part.
No, they're
I,
not.
I didn't
I
I
mean,
didn't
it's
see
hard to.
anyone. I mean, it's hard to, yeah, but you see with high schools and colleges here that implemented that. I mean, I think with some of the games, I mean, you could have probably put on a mask with like, I mean, water polo, no, but I'm saying with ping pong and other games that maybe aren't requiring that much cardiovascular activity, then I don't see why not. But I think that it's going to be, as I say it, as I said it, and we use this term a lot in the fall, it's going to be a super spreader, and it's going to be a super spreader, and it's going to affect how the coronavirus is going to be handled for several more months. I think in the U.S. we're going to see a little bit of an increase. I don't think it's going to be as bad, but I think in Japan it's going to be bad, and I think in other countries that who have sent a lot of delegations of athletes, I think we're going to see some issues come in the next 2-3 weeks.
Yeah, but you bring up a good point here in terms of the broad effects here. In fact, we can pivot towards that, but I want to get your sort of closing thoughts on how do you think the Olympics will play out from. Well, the thing with the Olympics is it only goes for like a few weeks.
True. Yeah, it's like 2 or 3 weeks. I think it ends sometime in second or third week in August. So luckily it will be over, but yeah, I think it will be over luckily, but it's what happens afterwards that gets a lot of these public health um workers and public policy makers worried. Go ahead. What are you going to say, Big Don?
Yeah, I think I think for a good pivot here, we should talk about what the experts are saying with the Delta variant here, because I think there's been some interesting stuff that's coming out in terms of how we're seeing other countries handle this in terms of, okay, who's getting affected here, even
Yes.
amongst like highly vaccinated populations.
Hmm. Yes. The term that they're using is called breakthrough. So anyone who has been fully vaccinated is considered a breakthrough case if they contract COVID. So it talks a little bit about what it is. So the Delta variant has been surging across the United States for a few months now. It is a highly contagious variant, and the issue is with a lack of vaccinations being distributed in a number of different areas across the U.S. This is the reason why we have seen an increase with COVID. Um, it says it now accounts for about 83% of the infectious infections diagnosed in the US. So 83% of the people who have COVID have the variant of Delta. Um, and it also has said that more than 97% of people hospitalized for COVID are unvaccinated. So
Wow.
they're saying that there have been a lot of serious cases have been with the populations who have not taken the vaccine, who maybe have gotten their first shot, maybe not the second shot, or may have lived in an area where there are not a lot of people who are fully vaccinated. And therefore, this is the reason why we are seeing an increase. So, this variant, as we all know, is highly transmissible. I guess it's 2 times more powerful than the beta one that we saw um, in the winter. So, and you also saw with India too, how India was really suffering
Yeah, they
back
got
in
rocked.
the spring. Yes. And this was from this variant that originated there. And you can see how the lack of vaccinations and how it is kind of plateaued over the past 2 months have led to increases in spikes. Now, where I live, it's pretty highly vaccinated. I think it's like 70 something percent of the population has gotten a vaccine or has been fully vaccinated. And I was talking to someone who lives in my city, and my city's relatively big size. It's like 30 something thousand people. And they said that there's only like 9 cases in my city. So it's not as bad as some other areas around who, maybe have more of an unvaccinated, but I mean that's just for the area that I live in, that we are mostly at that herd immunity stage. But I think for other cities that are not at the herd immunity stage, they're going to be dealing with this a lot worse.
Yeah, and let me see. Let me see the vaccination rates for my state here. My good old state of New York. New York vaccination rate.
I can pull up the vaccination rates. Hold on.
How likely are you? Google, you're not giving me the proper stuff here. I thought there was COVID vaccine tracker.
See right here. I can show you what's going on nationwide right now. So in the US, as of right now, we have kind of seen a little bit of a decrease. Hold on. Okay, good. We have kind of seen a little bit of a stagnation with the COVID vaccines. It kind of has plateaued a bit. Um, we are almost at 50% fully vaccinated. We're at specifically 49.5% of the population has been fully vaccinated. Mind you, about 80% of the population, or about 84, 85% of the population, can qualify for the vaccine due to the young kids not. But let's go here to New York State. We could go to a couple other states in the area. Yeah, the COVID vaccines have really just kind of slid off a little bit.
Yep. I think
Um,
this is pretty typical for all states.
56% of the population in New York has been fully vaccinated. 62.3% have had at least one dose. Let's go over to Pennsylvania. Let's see how your neighboring state is doing. We can go a few other states as well. As of right now in Pennsylvania, 64.8% of the population has at least one dose, while the fully vaccination rate is about 5% lower than New York at 51.8%. And let's go to California. We'll stick up with California, and then we'll compare it to Florida. Cali's had a pretty decent one. It is 52% fully vaccinated, um,
Mhm.
63% at least one vaccine. And I believe New Jersey has one of the highest. Yeah, 57.6% fully vaccinated in New Jersey. Let's go to Massachusetts. I believe they have relatively high, 63.5% fully vaccinated in Mass, 72.1% at least one vaccine. Then if you compare that to Texas,
Yeah, we're going to.
go to Texas, only 43.2% of the population in Texas is fully vaccinated. At least half, though, have at least one dose. So you can see um, how it has gotten down with the vaccine because people are still hesitant or whatever. We have talked about this with how people maybe don't want to get it for whatever reason, but you can see how the hesitancy does have a cost, and the cost is that it's just going to um, increase the duration of the pandemic. And you see it here in the US with the scare that happened this week with the markets falling, I believe on
Thankfully, they
Monday.
bounced back.
They did bounce back, but that was a little bit of a wake up call to some people about the Delta variant and how that, how still people who are unvaccinated are still um, kind of leading this pandemic. They call it um, they use the term the pandemic of the unvaccinated now.
Yep.
And it kind of is true, but people who are unvaccinated are still bringing it to people who are fully vaccinated. And the vaccine has shown that you can have mild symptoms. So if you do get vaccinated, which we all highly encourage, um, if you do get fully vaccinated, you will have less um, extreme symptoms than others who do not. But it brings up a point, Big Don. Do you think that we are going to see some measures, such as what we talked about last week in LA County, where there's going to be more mask mandates? Or do you think that mask mandates are over? Businesses are going to be the ones to implement them, not the local government?
I think you will see some mass mandates going around because I think this is probably only going to be the beginning
Mhm.
of the amount of Delta we're going to be seeing.
Okay.
We look at. I'm going to look up what Osterholm has to say about this
Okay.
because I heard him say some good things about this. If you don't know Dr. Michael Osterholm, he's a world leading expert in terms of. Let me see if I can give him an official title. Let's see here. He's an epidemiologist who makes a living off predicting stuff about like how pandemics play out.
Got it.
Let's see if he. I saw him do an interview with Cedar here. Let's see if he has anything to say about this because I generally trust his word. I probably trust him more than Fauci at this point.
Yeah, this is one from March. It says the new ones will cause more havoc. So this was probably talking about the new variants that you saw with the UK variant. You also saw this was with the US variant as well. Um, yeah, yeah, he was talking about that.
Did you hear there's a South African variant now?
Oh yeah, I knew about that one. Yeah, there's the US variant. You have the UK one that was pretty bad. You have the Indian one, which is the Delta. The America one, you have the original Chinese one, which apparently has died out, which isn't, it's not as effective. But yeah, the South African one wasn't it last year
I
or
think
in
it
the
was this
fall?
year because South Africa is going for went for a surge of COVID recently.
Oh, I think one of the reasons why was because all the fighting that went on down there,
Yeah,
right? I think that might have had played a role in it. I heard that there was a lack of vaccine distribution, and there was also a lot of race tensions and issues that, I mean, we could cover on a whole other day because I've heard about it. I haven't really looked too much into what's going on in South Africa, but I think some of that has to do with what was going on with the chaos that was going on in South Africa. I would say a month ago now. Yeah, it kind of got buried up in the news here though. people weren't really like looking at it because what was going on then? Yeah, the news cycle was like talking about something else when that story was really popular for what was going on in global news. I think you had the election in Peru going on too,
Yep.
but that was like a month and a half ago, or maybe not even. I think it was like a month ago. But there were some other stories here in the US that people kind of looked at more. I remember it didn't get any news because of what was going on. But yeah, that is interesting.
Yeah, but going back to Oscar home here, he seems to be sounding the alarm of what's to come because right now we're kind of behind some countries right now. If you look at countries like the UK and the Netherlands, they have pretty high vaccination rates, and yet they're pretty much getting hammered with Delta right now. I think they're about 8 weeks ahead of us in terms of vaccine distribution and
Mhm.
in terms of how much the Delta variant has spread here. So I think within the next 2 months, you can expect some big surge.
Yeah, the United Kingdom right now has fully vaccinated 55.2%, and at least one dose is close to 70% now. If you look at the Netherlands, I believe that theirs is around the same. Let me go see. Let's look on Denmark's because, oh yeah, look at that.
But
Look at this in Denmark. I mean,
it's like
theirs has
it's
been,
perfectly linear.
yeah, it really is. At least one dose is similar to Britain. It's about 70% and fully vaccinated about 50%. Mind you, they have a smaller population. I think it's under like 12,000. Um,
Shout out Denmark.
yeah, shout out Denmark. Now, what I don't understand is that some countries are not brave enough to tell Google. Let's go to see let's see our neighbors up north. Look at that. That's a plateau right here.
Yeah,
50.9% right now. Or no, about 54% now.
at least they got
71,
71%.
71.
They got the first dose. So
Mm,
people, I mean, if you're getting the first dose, like, what's the point? It's like it only a matter of time before you get the second.
true, true. And we talked about India a lot. Let's see how theirs is. Oh, yeah, this is bad. Fully vaccinated, only 6.4% of the population as of Wednesday. And one dose is only 24.2, but they do have over a billion people. So even though that seems small to us, 87 million people have been fully vaccinated in India and 330 million. So that's the population literally of the US. So have at least gotten their first dose. So they have done relatively well if you're looking at the real numbers. But yeah, go back to what was Dr. Michael saying?
Yeah, he's pretty much sounding the alarm in terms of what we expect within the next 2 months with the vaccine. Not the vaccine, with the Delta variant. We
Mhm.
might. I think we're probably have to go back to, as I said before, we're going to probably go back to mass mandates within some places. Some states are trying to implement it. And I think there's a lot of worry here with this politically because you get all of these people saying, okay, well, we just got out of this. So now you got to tell us to go back again.
Mhm.
And now there's also talks of companies also providing like a booster shot for the Delta variant.
Mhm.
And we all know how much the anti-vax crowd is popular within the United States.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I don't know when those booster shots are coming. I think that they are in the R&D phase right now. So I think they will probably be coming for some of them probably in the fall, I assume. So in the next couple of months we'll probably see boosters coming out unless they're on a wide scale right now, just getting them ready for probably late August. But yeah, I think that we'll see those probably in September, October. But they could be later due to delays or whatever. So that's what I predict. But yeah, it's interesting that workplaces could implement, I think by law. I don't know if they're allowed to. There's such a legal, it's such a gray area for this legality of businesses implementing that. But like I've worked several jobs where you've had to have vaccinations of different diseases from different diseases. But I think one of the rules is that it has to be FDA approved.
Yep.
Now, don't get me, I don't know if that's true,
We
but
haven't gotten full FDA approval yet. That's
if it hasn't got fully FDA approved, I don't think you can implement it. So it has been emergency approved, but not fully. But yeah, that was that's gonna bring up a big question. And also, I think we're still gonna see businesses implement the mask mandate if there is a surge in COVID. But as for the social distancing and the limited capacities, I think we're going to see that go away. I think it's going to be definitely masks though in some places. Like if you fly on a plane right now, that industry is still implementing face masks. If
yeah.
um, different state and federal law centers or whatever, if you have like jury duty or whatever, if you go to court, they still mandate masks. So some industries in the US and health sites and health centers as well, pharmacies, you still have to wear a mask. So I think that'll be the new normal for those kind of sites and places. But I don't know. I don't know if we're going to see it with small businesses. And even what do you think about college in the fall? Do you think that some colleges are going to implement the COVID vaccine and still gonna take it kind of like last year with the implementation of social distancing and mask wearing, or what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think we're seeing a lot of colleges right now implementing vaccine mandates. There's been a lot of protests regarding it. Like you'll like once in a while you see like a change.org thing that says like, okay, we should have the choice of having vaccines,
Mhm.
and this is unlawful or morally wrong.
Yep.
That's I think in terms of policy, we could see in the future. Obviously, we're going to see a lot of vaccine mandates, and if this Delta variant starts popping, then you could see potentially hybrid courses. You can see masks coming back within the classroom. I mean, I think it's going to be. I think worst case scenario, it's probably going to be pretty similar to what we saw at the beginning of this year with a lot of colleges, where some will go fully online, some will go like in person. Meaning,
Yep.
like people will still go back to their dorms or live on campus and
Mhm.
participate in either various versions of online or in-person classes with masks and social distancing. But who
Yeah.
knows? I think it's gonna only time will tell with that.
I mean, a lot of schools don't go back for another month or so. I mean, some 2, 3 weeks if you're on the early end, but if you're on the later end, it's probably if you're going to college, probably 3, 4, 5 weeks from now, we're going to start seeing students going back to college campuses. Some probably haven't even been back there since the pandemic because some schools still mandated online for the full year last year, even in the spring as well when COVID was at an all-time high in January. And for the fall too, some students may have not been back for quite a while, so they're looking forward to going back. But I think for high schools and middle schools, I think that since they do live in the same communities, um, we probably will not see. I think they will still have the mask mandate for the young kids who still have not gotten vaccinated. The under 12s, I think elementaries and preschools will have mask mandates and all the rest, but I don't think it'll be virtual because you see how detrimental that is to children's
Yeah, it is.
learning and intellectual practice. But for the older students, I think if you're between middle school and high school age, I think that we're going to see probably no masks. I don't know if some schools still might implement some of it when it comes time for the flu or whatever, but I think that if you are fully vaccinated and you're in high school, probably not. But what do you think of the people's argument about how they don't want their child to be kind of singled out for not having a vaccine and having to wear a mask? Do you think that it's a good policy? No vaccine, no vaccine, wear a mask, or do you think that or do you buy the discrimination kind of cry right there?
It's a tough thing to say because I'm ultimately people can't force you to get vaccines.
True.
But on the other hand, I mean, schools. The thing with schools here, if you look at it from their perspective, is they're going to face a lot of liability if they have an outbreak, especially with how how everything is looking with the Delta variant and the fear that's going on with that. I mean, we're seeing a lot of people, we're seeing a lot of ICUs start to fill up. I mean, it's not pretty.
Yeah.
And if you have like a very condensed population of young people, they're gonna be going out. They're gonna be hanging out with their friends. They're gonna be partying,
Mhm.
and we start seeing that. It's just like, well, we're gonna be losing a lot of money here
Yeah.
because of the potential lawsuits, and then there's also the possibility of going online.
Yeah. Yeah, I think in that perspective, I don't think people understand it when they say, "Oh, colleges are forcing it on our kids and they don't care about their health." I think in the perspective, if you're a college administrator or someone who works and makes those types of decisions, I think parents need to understand that they do care about your child's health and your student's health because it's on them basically. They're going to get a bad look if, let's say, 5% of the population test positive and they have to shut down, or even more, and people are unvaccinated. And then, God forbid, people are getting extremely ill and you have people going into ICU. I mean, that's an extreme scenario, but if you look at it that way, they're going to be losing a lot of money. And they're also going to be getting a lot of criticism. So they see it as best to have everyone fully vaccinated to return to normal.
Yeah, but like I said before, only time will tell in terms of how things will play out. So maybe we won't get hit as bad. I mean, you never know. People might be able to get their stuff together. I mean, the stock scare certainly put some perspective into it when the when stuff like the S&P falls. I definitely took a hit with it.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, that was very scary. With I think everyone who owns stocks was shocked by that. But yeah, just looking back at this in this college discussion, do you think that we're going to see? How do you think it's going to look for the college experience? Do you think that it is going to be back to normal, or do you think that it's going to be slow and steady?
Um, I think in the beginning there'll be like some normalcy, and then based on sort of, I mean, it's hard to tell because this we're predicting, okay, when these rates are going to be start popping off. And I don't really think it's going to happen in August. I think people are going to still be, for the people that are not keeping up with this. I think people are probably going to, it's probably going to be not very much different compared to now, unless we see some giant surge happen
Yeah.
within certain states. It's also going to depend on the state as well. Like if you're in a state with a very highly vaccinated population, and then I think there'll be some normalcy. You'll see, but in states like we look at Texas, we look at Florida, all those states are not really doing so well with COVID. So it'll, I think college administrators will be hesitant on that based on the demographics that live down there. But other than that, I think those particular schools are going to be more likely to implement sort of measures.
Mhm. That's a good point. That's a good point. I think it really depends on where you live in the country, but if you have a big student body who is from all parts of the country and frankly the world as well, um, you might have something to worry about. So focusing on making it the most safest, but still an enjoyable and an effective experience is what they need. And I think there needs to be some transparency among parents who might criticize their vaccine policy at first, but later look at what the benefits are and how they outweigh the costs. So, I mean, in my eyes, I think that at first I was like, okay, I don't know if they can do it, but now I say, you know what, let the colleges implement vaccination requirements, because if you don't, you risk another what happened in the fall or what happened in the spring of last year. And I don't think anyone wants to relive that, go home and take classes online, because it just is not the experience that everyone has invested in.
No,
It is not. But yes. Oh, we forgot to share with everyone the our poll we did this week.
yeah,
It,
we did one of our biggest polls.
yes, this has been tied with the Steven Crowder poll and I believe the Peru Spanish poll. Yes, we had 30 votes this week on our poll, and the question was, due to the rising COVID cases in Japan, should the Tokyo Olympics be canceled? Now, most of the people that answered this poll were either from the US, Australia, or Great Britain, or Canada as well, since most of the hashtags we used were in English and for one of those teams. So I'm not surprised by this. We can discuss this, but 60% said let the games begin, while 40% said yes, COVID will increase. So I think that in Japan, as we mentioned earlier, there's a lot of setback of not wanting the um, Olympics at this moment due to a number of factors we got into. But I think the international community has wanted this, has just, we're so sad last year when it was postponed, but
Yep.
now they are so ready, so ready. But Big Don, what do you think of this? What is your analysis from um our study?
People are tired of dealing with COVID, so I don't really blame them for saying no. Let the games begin.
Yeah, I was a little surprised. We had a few people get back to us saying that no, let the Olympics occur, but the Paralympics don't let that occur. And I can see why. But I think that with the Olympics, at first I was a little hesitant, but I think that if they can get COVID under control, which is kind of, I don't know, it doesn't really look like they can at this moment, but if they can implement guidelines where you can lower the risk of contracting COVID, then I'm all for it because I think people are sick and tired of just sitting inside and not having anything to watch. And for some people, this was what they were looking forward to last year. So I am happy that it's still going on and the show must go on. So I am for letting the games begin. But yeah, shout out to everyone who filled that poll out. We do polls every Wednesday. So make sure to go check that. Some on Thursdays as well. So follow us on the Twitter account. Put it right here.
Boom.
All right.
All
Boom.
right. Let's
You
move
want
on
to switch
the
over
next
now?
one.
You want to switch over now?
Yes.
All right. Here is what is going on in the District of Columbia. So, as everyone knows, there has been a lot of tension between the two parties over what occurred on January 6th during the insurrection. Democrats have, and some Republicans have wanted to have a committee to get to the bottom of what occurred on January 6th. They have wanted to hear from officials, they've wanted to hear from Capitol Police and other lawmakers on why this occurred. Now, don't forget, we had a committee for 9/11 and also for Benghazi. So, for crises in the past, we've had committees. So this has shown that there is a full divide and two different perspectives going on with the January 6th committee. But what do you what do you think Nancy Pelosi is trying to get at denying Jim Jordan and also um, another Republican from the committee?
Oh, geez. I mean,
Because they said that they were both some of them were election deniers and they were kind of a part of the Trump wing, but Nancy Pelosi wants to get someone like Adam Kinzinger, who's more of a kind of centrist Republican, and Liz Cheney and others who are more in this centrist position that um, kind of want to get to the bottom of it. What do you think of her denying Jim Jordan and their other pick and
well, obviously
McCarthy's other pick?
they want to get to that investigation as quickly as possible. And with
Mhm.
people like Jim Jordan, you're not really going to do that because that wing of the Republican Party is pretty much just flat out denying that the election was even fair in the first place and pretty much inciting the insurrection.
Mm.
And I think to some extent they know that they played a role in it when it came to the amount of dog whistling that was going on within
Yeah.
the Republican Party leading up to the insurrection.
Now, do you think that if this committee were to occur, and do you think that there would be a lot of bombshells about maybe the Trump administration in particular, anyone who may have had a key role? Do you think that that will ever go out to the public, or do you think that this is going to be what they call like political? Um, the term is like political theater.
I mean, it depends on how the if Pelosi can get the Republicans like Liz Cheney in the committee and push people like Jim Jordan out, I think you'll see a lot more stuff to come to light.
Mhm.
But if there's a base of people that are saying don't do this, that it's not worth investigating, then or just flat out saying like yeah, we need to the election was stolen from us, and then it's just like well, then it is going to become political theater. It's just going to be filibustering for weeks
Yeah.
about about how each decision that they made what is terrible.
Mhm. Do you think that for the particular rumored GOP, and there's also rumors that former GOP representative from Virginia, Representative Denver Riggleman, who is also a former intelligence officer who actually lost his primary in 2020, and who has been a critic of the MAGA group within the Republican Party, how he could be considered for this as well. Um, and also Liz Cheney and also Representative Kinzinger, how if they are picked, or specifically Kinzinger and Representative Liz Cheney, do you think that they could face major repercussions of getting voted back in their Republican majority districts?
Yeah, the bad thing here is, I mean these, I mean they already been kind of delegated. Obviously, we know what happened with Liz Cheney in terms of getting booted from her chair position within the Republican Party.
Mhm.
And then who was the other guy?
Representative Kinzinger
Yep, Kid
from
Ginger.
Illinois.
Obviously, he's been an outspoken critics, and
Mhm.
I'm not sure if he really had. Was he a congressman?
Yes.
Yep. So I think, I mean, he has some political say. I don't think he's really as well known within the party because of sort of being the outspoken critic of the party
Yeah.
that he's in. But obviously, this is obviously with Pelosi and then all the other people that are trying to push for an investigation or trying to get as many people on their side as possible, so they can have an easier fight here.
True. True. Yeah, once this all gets sorted out, I'm sure we're going to have more information. This is still in the works with picking and choosing. You know, Representative McCarthy, House Minority Leader, he started proposing potential committee members on Tuesday and Wednesday, and uh, Speaker Nancy Pelosi has gotten back and denying a lot of them due to being a part of the GOP wing of the um, MAGA wing of the GOP, I should say. So she has kind of made her say. Still in the works, but we will give you more information. I'm sure this is going to be a big story when we're on again. Let's move now to the Lone Star State. And we discussed critical race theory a couple weeks ago, and whether it should be in the classroom or not. We found out that it's not really in the classroom. It's more in advanced social studies courses and in college courses. But this brings up a good question about what should be in school curriculums.
Oh boy, this was a bombshell of the story,
Yes.
if you ask me. But and I think it's really bad that it did not get as much media attention as it did.
Yeah. And I think it also shows you today, though, how there's kind of a culture battle going on.
Culture wars.
It's a culture war, but it's for the next generation. You see how it's directing the young kids, especially with curriculum, school curriculum. You want to just keep on brainwashing people to form your own agenda. And I mean, that people have been saying that the culture wars have really accelerated in the past 4 years. You've seen it with, you know, anti-LGBT, pro-LGBT.
The conservatives are really adopting this term culture wars. I mean, I'll go on like I'll see like Charlie Kirk use it all the time with his turning point events.
But the thing is, though, if you have a culture within your, um, political party, you're going to kind of get them to be more tied with you. And I think that that is why that base is so loyal, is because they share a lot of the same values. You hear the Judeo-Christian point a lot. A lot of them are very religious. A lot of them are anti-abortion.
Yep.
And a lot of them, also have a lot of other viewpoints that have been formed over the years. And I think with the Democrat Party, in particular, the progressive wing, it's quite the opposite. They have quite the opposite. So it has kind of formed a right versus left thing within the culture wars. And anyone who's a moderate kind of gets thrown in with whomever they vote for. So for this
Yeah.
case, the conservative, Christian Bible Belt liver, they're kind of going with the right wing, and vice versa with the progressive who's going with the Democrats. So
But this right here,
yes,
this is getting ridiculous, if you ask me.
yeah,
So, if you don't know the context of this bill, so the Texas Senate bill was
three,
proposed by the Texas State Senate, and then was it signed by Greg Abbott? Let's hear. The bill addresses that.
yeah, recently passed and signed by Greg Abbott.
So this limits a lot of American teachings here, and some of them, as you can see right here, let's read this right here. Let's read this.
It says the House bill requires that historical documents related to the civic accomplishments of marginalized populations be taught in public school classrooms. Among dozens of examples listed in the bill are women's suffrage and equal rights, and the history and importance of civil rights movement, including the teaching of Martin Luther King Jr.'s I Have a Dream speech.
All right, so there's the bombshell right there. They want to pretty much, let's see here, because I'm not sure that it's like they're pretty much taking away the requirement for schools to teach this. And
Yeah.
I mean, if you ask me, I mean, this could be a debate on like school choice and stuff like that.
Well,
what
so-
schools want to teach, but this is stupid.
Well, this is what it says. It says, what they want them to teach is mostly,
Like pro-American 70s.
yeah, civic accomplishments of the marginalized populations. So they kind of just want things. They want to promote this. That's kind of what they're saying. So it says, it goes on later to say, it will also require teaching about the accomplishments of U.S. farm workers, and leader Cesar Chavez, Susan B. Anthony's writings about the women's suffragist movement, and Native American history. It also goes on to state that public school educators must teach the history of white supremacy, including slavery, the Ku Klux Klan, and ways in which the white supremacist hate group was morally wrong.
But if we look right here, if you look at the next sentence, but in the Senate bill, those agenda items were removed. So I'm like, well, what are you doing?
Doesn't make any sense.
Does not make any sense to me, because I mean, I'm not sure about you, but I remember learning about the I Have a Dream speech, and
Oh yeah,
that was one of the first things we learned about American history was the civil rights movement, and then you had like the story of Rosa Parks, and then you had MLK's March on Washington, and then all the activism we did within the South. You learned about Jim Crow, about how there was segregation.
yeah. Actually, at my elementary school, it's a very diverse elementary school. They talked a lot actually about like Black American history, and also we had a mural of Martin Luther King Jr. on our wall at my elementary school. And we actually learned about MLK, I believe, in first grade. That's when they first talked about who he was, and we read a lot of things about him throughout our elementary school years, and we talked about U.S. history, but we didn't really talk a lot about slavery in elementary school. That was more of a middle school, high school thing.
Yep.
But MLK was, and Susan B. Anthony too. I think she was more fourth and fifth grade, and then we talked about later about Rosa Parks and
Hmm.
the civil rights movement. That was later on, but MLK I think was like the first big civil rights activist that we touched on a lot, and they emphasized him since I was at least 5 or 6 years old. So this is going back a couple decades now, but yeah, he was. And I mean, I went back to the school not too long ago, and that mural is still there. So I'm sure he's in the um, curriculum, but it just doesn't make sense to me. Why a school would consider maybe a school curriculum or a school system or the state in this matter will consider taking that away. How do you think that's going to do to the children?
I mean, will the schools take it away? Probably not. But the fact that they're giving them the freedom to do this,
Well, I mean, I think most schools will probably not take it away, but I'm sure there will be some schools that are extreme
yeah, because
who
I
who
mean, you can find like
yeah.
a couple of extreme examples. Like for example, within Louisiana, they talked about like the pros of like slavery within a history textbook that was exposed about like a month or two ago. But if you're, and I think also in the bill, it requires like teachers to like explain like both sides of like a situation,
Mm.
and that kind of resonates here when it comes to the headline of saying that the Ku Klux Klan is morally wrong. I mean, it could look at it as like teaching like an objective point of view of looking at the Klan, but it's like, well, come on here.
Yeah.
It's the KKK. I mean,
Yeah, and I mean they've had such a big presence in Texas and also in the South as well that I think if you don't know your history and you don't know the perspectives of those people, they say, as the saying goes, you're going to be doomed to repeat it. In my eyes, I think that, um, yeah, if you don't know the history, and these children may not know. I mean, most of the school systems, I'm sure, are going to talk about who the KKK were, but if they don't say that they were morally wrong, some of these students are probably going to like it. They're probably going to like the KKK. Well, that's in a very slim majority, but you see where we're going here.
yep,
How even though I'm sure most school systems in Texas who are probably who probably exercise logic every day, and who are smart will probably not even care for this bill because it won't have any impact on the way that they do teach their curriculum. But I'm sure there are some school systems that are going to say, you know what, yeah, let's diss Martin Luther King, let's diss Susan B. Anthony, let's diss women's suffrage, and let's talk a little bit more about the Confederation, and they'll go on to that. But and they'll criticize abolitionists, and they'll see this as an opportunity. But I think
yeah. It's like when PragerU had that video about removing the Robert E. Lee statue,
oh,
and
that was
then they
awful.
called what was it, John Williams,
John Brown,
John Brown.
a radical abolitionist,
They called him a
led
radical
like
abolitionist.
that's
It's just
insane.
like, yeah, it was completely wrong for John Brown to go
They called him,
free
yeah,
some
the
slave.
radical abolitionist.
It's like, what's that supposed to mean? PragerU, you're literally are the people that are saying, oh, Republicans freed everyone from slaves, so they are morally good. The Democrats put you all in chains, but then they called them radical abolitionists. I'm like, what? How does this justify anything?
Doesn't doesn't. Yeah, PragerU has its own issues with teaching crap.
I mean, the thing is, people are literally there are teachers within public schools that are showing freaking PragerU videos to their students.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the videos, I mean, we could pull up a PragerU video, or even the Tuttle Twins, which I think they went out of business. The Tuttle Twins.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a garbage news. I mean, honestly, whoever.
We were a few weeks ago. We were looking over the Tuttle Twins, and then we saw this guy react to the Tuttle Twins, and he was getting some mad flack for it.
Yeah, there was barely any. I don't think we're gonna react to them, but
No,
PragerU,
not today.
not today. Yeah, let's go on to PragerU real quick. I'm just pulling them up, just to show you how good their views are usually. All right.
So if we look at their follow me.
Sorry.
Yep.
Let's see their most popular videos. Hold on.
First, let's look at their subscriber count here. So they
2.92 million.
So almost 3 million people are subscribed to the channel.
Yeah, mostly are probably from the United States of America. Let's see
we
here.
go the most popular here. So left or
liberal, the progressive income tax. Why I left the left. Oh, they went after socialism in Venezuela. Immigrants don't support what you fled. Socialism ruined my country is one of their big ones. Socialism versus capitalism.
A lot of socialism here.
Oh yeah, look at this one. Make men masculine again. Don't follow your passion. And PragerU versus YouTube. And then, oh yeah, look at here.
Yeah, here we go.
We just talked about this. Democrats and KKK. Top 5 issues facing Black people. Is Denmark socialist? The war on boys, I guess. And where do you want to live? A red state or a blue state? So yeah.
The Middle East problem. That's another one.
Which is about is that
they're probably trying to justify the amount of
look at Stephen Crowder.
Hey, look, it's you can't debate Sam Seder.
Who will Google silence next? That was a couple years ago. And just say Merry Christmas instead of Happy Holidays. So yeah, you see a lot of this, a lot of the points made about, socialism versus capitalism. You also see their arguments about the culture wars, specifically with gender and identity, and how men aren't men today and how boys aren't boys today.
They're all beta males.
Yeah, beta males, and also this whole red state versus blue state as well. So that's kind of
it's the culture wars.
Yeah, that's their channel in a nutshell. They're talking about capitalists versus the socialist people, or they're talking about the culture wars. So yeah, go watch it. There are a lot of biased videos, but go check it out.
Yeah, you can get some good memes out of them. You can watch all the white TPs about Dennis Prager. Those are funny.
Oh yeah. Oh, those ones where they have the animated Dennis Prager.
No, where they actually edit Dennis Prager a PragerU video too, and then Dennis Prager says some really cringy, not cringy, really edgy stuff.
Oh my gosh!
To make it sound like Dennis Prager is endorsing communism or something like that. It's hilarious.
Oh my gosh. That's kind of wild. Well, yeah, that is PragerU. But yeah, I think that we're going to see education and curriculum building being a touchy subject for the future, and rightfully so. Education is so important with leading a young movement, and I think that you see this weaponization of science and now with education, and I really don't know what's going to happen in the future. What are they going to weaponize next?
Yeah, how can you take away the "I have a dream" speech from being taught in schools?
I don't know, to push
it's
an agenda.
The audacity you're going for here?
To push an agenda, Big Don. That's what they want to do.
They don't love Black people.
I don't know. Anyways, let's go on to our last story of the night, unless you have anything else to say about this.
I'm going to leave it at that.
Yeah. All righty. Let's move on. This was also in the Lone Star State, actually on the 50th anniversary of going to space. Jeff Bezos being the next millionaire or billionaire to go to space. He also was joined by the oldest astronaut, or what they call astronaut, to go to space, and also the youngest astronaut, who's 18. But I guess of today, they're actually going to change the definition of astronaut, and Jeff Bezos may never become one because of what they did with that. But yes, they went to space on Wednesday, and you saw some videos of them playing ping pong and having a good old time. Jeff Bezos gets off and says, "Best day ever," and then he has his little cowboy hat, and the rest was all fun and games, But this brings up a good question. With the era of space exploration now upon us, you saw Sir Branson who went last week, and who was Virgin Airlines, and now you see Amazon CEO Jeff Bezos, who just went up. Do you think that this is going to be a common occurrence for the future? Because I know Elon Musk is going to be going up sometime soon, and I'm sure there'll be some other explorations that are not from NASA who are independently seeking this. Do you think that we're going to see more of this in the future?
Probably. I mean, they're talking right now about having like space travel for like really wealthy people to have to like buy tickets and go to space. They also have those planning on doing like elevators that go all the way up to like where you can see space and stuff like that. I mean, would I do it? Hell yes. I'll like just for the sake of defeating the flat earthers out there.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I would love to go to space, but I mean, I'm gonna have to hit the lottery or something.
Yeah, it's probably gonna be in the range of two private companies chasing space tourism dollars. See, there you go.
Yeah, you have the Blue Origin, and I don't know what the other one is, Virgin Galactic.
Yep.
So yeah, and I mean, Elon Musk apparently has some plans of doing something with Tesla, maybe, or with SpaceX, I think. So yeah, I think that this is going to be a thing of the future. I would definitely want to do it if I had the opportunity. I would say, of course, I would love to go to space. I think that would be so fun. And I just think that it's going to take a while, but it shows you how this is kind of giving the public some hope that, I mean, we landed something on Mars recently, and I mean, we have been to the moon before, but how this is going to be open to the public, not just people who are experts in the solar system or who are astronauts or who work for NASA or who now are a part of the Space Force and the military. So I think that this is a good story, and it's also one that is a feel good story. And I think it's going to show us that there's a lot more to our solar system out there than we might know. And I think it's time to bring on space.
Actually, people are getting mad about this because of the amount of money Jeff Bezos spent on making like a
Oh,
spacecraft,
yeah,
and
I
it
think
only
that.
went up there for a short amount of time.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I mean, we can talk about what he said afterwards with thank you, all Amazon customers, and thank you to everyone who works at Amazon because you paid for this. Remember, he said it like that. And then, I mean, that was awful. But I think overall, this was just an example of, humans having the ability to go to space one day. And I mean, most people are not going to be able to afford it. But if you're a billionaire like Jeff Bezos or like Sir Richard Branson, I mean, this is easy money for you. But
Yeah, I
for
mean, if you're
normal
making
people,
seven
no.
figures, then
Oh yeah, if you're making seven figures, it'll be in the foreseeable future. But if you're like an average Joe, this is not going to happen for, I don't know. I can't even put a timeline on it unless you win the lottery. Probably never. But
or or just really invest well.
yes, you have to really go hard. But I think by the future, maybe in 100 years, this will be a common thing. But right now, nah. But yeah, there was controversy with it, with Jeff Bezos and his little post game speech, if you will. And what do you think about that? The 10 minutes he was up in space and then he came back, said it was his best day ever, and then he said that about thank you Amazon and thank you to all the customers. Was that a
Yeah,
good
that's
move?
not really a good PR move right there.
Nah. And I mean, it's known that Amazon employees have in the past had to defecate in bags and also not been able to go to the bathroom. And I mean, you've heard with the Alabama, the failed attempt to create a union in Alabama, how that how there were a lot of workers there. And if you read the stories, you could have heard some people were not really getting lunch breaks. They were getting 5 minute, 10 minute lunch breaks. Really just not fair, not being able to go to the bathroom. If they did have a lunch break, they would only be able to go on for about 5, 10 minutes, abbreviated lunch breaks, not being able to go to the bathroom, being overworked, being overheated, being dehydrated. I mean, people who work at these,
Yeah, Jeff
uh,
Bezos is really trying to start communist revolution right now with that comment.
yeah,
He really pushed the threat right there because, I mean, we pretty much funded him to go to space. It's like, what do we get out of it? Nothing.
nothing. All we see is just him in a cowboy hat laughing and saying, "Oh, it's the best day ever." So I think that's a bunch of that was not a good PR move right there. But I mean, Amazon is such a powerhouse that people can't really boycott it because then they're gonna have to rely on some other
You have to
freight
rely on
forwarder,
Alibaba.
Alibaba. You can rely on FedEx, but or
But you
eBay, or
can't buy anything off FedEx,
that's true. That's true. You have to buy it on like
eBay.
eBay, or really go to the store and get it yourself.
Yeah,
So yeah, Amazon has. I mean, it's a powerhouse. You can't boycott it, but um, Jeff Bezos has to. He knew that that was probably going to be controversial, and it was. And I mean, I saw some. I mean, the mainstream media on both sides kind of didn't really care, but I don't know. Did you see what Kyle Kalinske said about it?
I didn't see what Kyle Klinsky said about it.
I mean, he said that was the worst thing that he could have possibly said. Jeff Bezos. He said it was such a d bag move, and
I mean, it was such a d-bag move.
he said that how the media didn't really notice that was also so stupid, and how they were kind of applauding him and playing patty cake with him the whole day. So yeah, it was a d bag move to even say it, and it's a little disappointing, but what can you do? He had a good day. So
Off the
doesn't care.
backs of us.
Yep. He can laugh about it, and he also has a lot of money, so probably doesn't care. And he knows that Amazon's not going to collapse after this. I mean, there's no competitors with them
No, not
because
really.
they have such exceptional services that yeah, they yeah, he's not going to be affected by this at all. So, but yeah, that was a big story this week with Jeff Bezos and his best day ever.
Glad you had your best day ever, Jay.
Yeah. Thank you, Jeff. Have a great day with your cowboy hat. He now looks like Stephen A when he wears his cowboy hat.
Yeah,
How about them Cowboys? Yeah. Anyways, let's head back to Twitter for 1 sec.
See what's trending on the tweets.
Yeah, let's go see a Twitter trend tweet. Let's go see what's going on.
Tucker's trending.
Let's go see. Trending.
I think Trump's having a rally somewhere.
Sure he is, yeah. UFC Vegas 32 going on. Qatar. I don't know if they're winning.
Tucker.
In a video posted to Instagram, a man calls Fox News host Tucker Carlson the worst human being known to mankind.
Oh, we gotta see
at a
this.
Montana sporting goods store.
Boom.
We gotta watch this. Is there a video? We'll see this.
Let's.
Where's the video? Oh, is this it? Hold on. We'll go backwards. We'll see what's going on with this.
31-second video. Okay.
Let's see right here.
Man confronts Tucker Carlson over his anti-vax rhetoric. You're the worst human being known to man. Okay. I think we get the gist.
Let's turn this one up and let's watch it.
Don't even get my. I don't care, man. Dude, you are the worst human being known to mankind. I want you to know that.
That is like, wow.
he's just laying on the ground. He's literally just, look at the hand.
Oh, look at it. Look at that.
You are the he is ready.
Look, he's just potting it. Tucker's laughing. Look at he's embracing it. He's embracing it. Ready?
I want you to know that we're going to this, to the United States, to everything else in this world. I don't care that you're not receiving.
He's laughing. See, that's the Tucker laugh. He always laughs when he's on camera. He'll just laugh.
He knows.
Is it me or is the guy on the right look a little like Jimmy Kimmel, a tiny bit?
Yeah, it looks like Jimmy Kimmel just like dressed. He wanted to
Like,
cover.
yeah.
Maybe he
Oh,
did.
really? Maybe he did. But I don't know. Tucker Carlson in Montana just laughing.
Families, what you have done to everybody else in this society.
Why are they whispering too? I don't get that. Do you think that this could be staged?
I mean,
It looks like acting to me.
it kind of does. But why is Tucker Carlson Montana?
Yeah, weird. But yeah, what? Yeah, but it just seems a little like staged to me because he's like laughing at the camera. How do they get the camera work that good? How do they even know Tucker was there? Like, and who is that guy who said that? That's what I have to say. Looks a little fake to me, but that's just my opinion. Other things going on. We have a lot of baseball things going on. Olympics.
J-Lo.
A lot of Olympics. Rolling Loud is going on right now too. And that's basically it. I could go onto the news thing here on Twitter.
Tucker, of course.
Tucker is
Yeah, he's all over. See Montana.
Jim Acosta. I'm vexed. Are you? Is trending. And then some articles. Cuba's trending. I mean, that's just in the news flash. Saki with vaccination. So just kind of seeing the same thing here with basically everything we kind of expected for Twitter tonight. But yeah, just a reminder to everyone, before we start wrapping it up, next week, I'll repeat, next week we will not have a live stream, so do not expect for us to be on. We are taking the week off. We have some things we have to do, so we're going to be busy next week. So no live stream next week. However, we have a good GeoGuessr video coming out next Saturday, same time at 8 p.m. So if you tune in, you're going to get the GeoGuessr video for all our GeoGuessr fans out there in our GeoGuessr community. You guys deserve this one. This is of the landmarks. So we're going worldwide on this one, and you don't want to miss it. It's a lot of fun. And we'll be back on the 7th of August. We will have a big live stream on the 7th of August. And then after that, we'll tell you about what the schedule is going to be for the fall. Most likely we're going to do Saturdays, but we are not sure yet because we're going to be back at work and school. So we will keep you guys covered, but that is what to expect for next week. So next week, GeoGuessr next week.
Yep, and then we'll explain why we were gone that week for you guys on that GeoGuessr video. So stay tuned.
Yeah, we do explain what's going on then, and then following week you'll have some additional content as well. Maybe this week or next week I might have some analysis of some elections that are coming up. So some of those will be coming up. We'll be doing our DNC Democrat. That'll be coming out sometime in August as well for the tier list. And everyone's running up the numbers on that Republican tier list. So we are so grateful that you guys all liked it and watched it because we're doing numbers on that right now. We thank you all for that. You know, you always try to find time out of your day to watch us, and we always appreciate that. So we're going to continue to grow with the Peace and Chaos program. 1 week off, we're going to be doing some things, so we're going to be busy, but next week will be a good GeoGuessr video, and I can guarantee that. And a lot more videos to come as well, so not just live streams. But yes, Big Don, you have any other points to make?
Go Guardians.
Oh, yeah. Go Guardians. Anyways. Oh, and yeah, go Kraken too. They just got their team the other day.
Yep.
Seattle Kraken. Anyways, you know the drill. Peace and Chaos P1. Peace and Chaos P1 on Twitter. Banner for IG. We don't have that pulled up tonight. We're going to have some polls that we're going to be doing this week. We might be doing some videos and analysis on those polls. So keep it locked for that. And yeah, that's going to do it for us. I'm DJ Aceman, along with the legendary Life of Big Don. See you on August 7th. Peace.
Hey, that's my line.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, we just